I paid for what I saw. That phrase kept looping through my mind as I sat in the dingy motel room, trying to process the bombshell I had uncovered tonight. My hands still shook, so I clutched them together, taking a few deep breaths to calm my racing heart. Confronting the harsh reality that my husband Mike was cheating on me was like taking a brutal punch to the gut. After 10 years of marriage, I thought I knew everything about Mike. He was my high school sweetheart, the only man I had ever loved. We married young. I was just 19 and Mike was 21 when he slid that simple gold band on my finger. He was studying to be a lawyer while I worked odd jobs to get us through school. We scrimped and sacrificed, buoyed by the light at the end of the tunnel when Mike would start his career and our hard work would finally pay off. On the surface, everything was perfect once Mike joined a prestigious law firm in the city. We had a gorgeous house in the suburbs, took luxurious vacations, drove nice cars. Mike worked long hours, but he provided all the comfort and security I could ask for. I settled into my role as a homemaker, cooking Mike's favorite meals, keeping our house tidy, living for our weekends and date nights together. But over the past year, something changed. Mike grew distant, irritable. He snapped at me over insignificant things and started working later and later at the office. When I asked if anything was wrong, he insisted it was just the pressure of making partner at the firm. I knew Mike was under stress, so I tried to be patient and give him space. Now I realized that was the first clue I missed. Tonight confirmed my worst fears when I saw Mike waltzing into a 5-star hotel downtown with a gorgeous younger woman on his arm. The evasive look in his eyes when he checked for witnesses before entering told me everything I needed to know. My hands instinctively curled into fists as I thought of him laying next to that woman right now, after promising to be faithful to me for better or worse. The private investigator I hired last week had presented me with photos of Mike and the mystery blonde looking cozy over a candlelit dinner. But seeing it with my own eyes made it painfully real. I had entered the lobby behind them, slinking into an alcove when Mike turned around. I watched him usher the statuesque woman into the elevator, their heads bent together. My heart splintered into pieces right there in that opulent hotel lobby, amidst the unaware crowds. Blinking back tears, I tried to decide on my next steps. I couldn't bear the thought of going home to the house Mike and I had turned into a home together, full of memories now soured by betrayal. My first instinct was to march right up to their hotel room and confront Mike, make him look me in the eye as I demanded answers about the state of our marriage. But some invisible force held me back. I wasn't ready for the messy confrontation, the weeping and wailing, the vomiting up of a decade's worth of secrets and lies. I needed time to think, to allow the anger and hurt to solidify into courage and resolve. So instead, I got myself a room for the night at a cheap motel down the street. I paid cash, not wanting a credit card trail for Mike's lawyer colleagues to track. The threadbare room smelled of cigarettes and despair, but it suited my mood perfectly. I didn't bother turning on the lights, sitting numbly on the edge of the lumpy mattress in the dark. My mind raced, thoughts crashing together chaotically. How long had Mike been cheating? Was I such a naive fool to never have suspected anything these past 10 years? Why her? Did he love her, or was it just physical attraction? Would he leave me for her, or end things and beg my forgiveness? I agonized over what a split would mean. Divorcing, selling our dream house, dismantling the future we had meticulously built together brick by brick. The very idea of seeing Mike with someone else at the country club we joined as newlyweds, or running into them around town, made bile rise in my throat. I had some money saved up over the years, but not enough to start over comfortably on my own. As the night dragged on, despair gave way to anger. How could Mike do this to me, to us? I had given him my whole heart, my youth and energy and affection. I had compromised on my career dreams of opening a bakery so Mike could focus on his without distraction. And this was how he repaid a decade of loyalty and trust. By dawn, the tears and fury had crystallized into cold, hard resolve. I would not let Mike betray and humiliate me this way. I would walk into his office once the other employees had left, lay the evidence on his desk, and tell him calmly that he had a choice to make. The ball was in his court. Either cut things off completely with his mistress, or I would file for divorce immediately and make the affair public. I would fight for my fair share of assets and start over on my own terms. My hands had finally stopped shaking by the time I left the motel room. The pale, distraught woman from last night was gone. I moved with purpose, fueled by a new sense of direction. Stopping at a bodega, I bought the tools I would need: a disposable phone, voice recorder, extra memory cards for my camera. If Mike chose to save our marriage, I would need leverage to ensure he ended things completely with the other woman. I would not be made a fool again. I went home and showered, leaving before Mike arrived back from wherever he had spent the night. I stopped at the bank and withdrew funds from our joint savings account, not half, but enough to keep me comfortable for a year if needed. The bank manager gave me a concerned look when she saw the amount, but I just smiled and told her my husband and I were investing in some home renovations. My next stop was a lawyer's office. I made an appointment to assess my options the next day. By the time I reached Mike's firm, it was after 7 p.m. I sat parked outside the sleek downtown high-rise, gathering my strength. I waited until most of the other cars had cleared out of the underground garage before making my way to the executive elevators. My heels clacked purposefully across the marble floors. When I reached Mike's corner office, I took a deep breath and walked in without knocking. There he was, still handsome as ever in his tailored suit. He sat on the edge of his desk, loosening his tie. But instead of affection, the sight of him now just hardened my resolve. Mike looked up, surprise registering on his face when he saw me. "Oh, hey babe, I was just about to head home," he said casually. Too casually. I stared him down, refusing to break eye contact. "We need to talk," I said evenly, setting my purse down on the lush leather chair facing his desk. I began laying out the photos from the private investigator, my own grainy camera shots from the previous night. Mike's expression morphed from confusion to shock to anger in the span of a few seconds. He sputtered, grasping for explanations and excuses, but I refused to engage. I simply slid the separation agreement from the lawyer across the desk. "Sign this, effective immediately if you want to pursue things with her," I said calmly. "Or sign a post-nuptial agreement agreeing to my terms if you want to try and repair our marriage." Mike's handsome face contorted in disbelief and rage. "You bitch, how dare you try and control me, threaten me like this?" he shouted, his hands curled into fists on the desk. I didn't flinch. "Choose carefully," I said steadily, "because I will play those recordings of our conversation for every one of your partners and clients unless you agree to my terms." My hands were perfectly steady now. I had paid dearly for this knowledge, this glimpse behind the facade of our marriage, but I had no intention of paying twice. Mike's eyes narrowed, scanning the documents on his desk. I waited patiently. Finally, his shoulders slumped in defeat. "Just give me some time to think things over," he pleaded hoarsely, but I stood firm. I left the office without looking back, my head held high. Let him spend the night in the company of his dirty secrets, weighing his options. I was done paying for things I could not unsee. A new life awaited me, one free of deception and heartbreak. The choice was Mike's, but either way, I knew I would survive. The time for navy and complacency was over. I had wised up and would never again ignore the warning signs, no matter how painful the truth may be. The rose-colored glasses were gone for good. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new videos.